Hello, my name is James. I'm the lead architect and one of the founders here at Cloud Integration Consultants. And what I want to talk to you about today is, what you can do without needing us. um, a lot of people they really want to just get things done by themselves. They look at the size of their project; it doesn't really warrant pulling in an outside firm. Should only take a couple of days, or just maybe a week or two, and just trying to get the developers or an outside firm together and get all the requirements and everything may take longer than actually doing the actual code. Totally makes sense. Or they're just under the budget, so they want to just keep it in house. They can maintain a lower cost if that's possible. Sometimes that's just going to cost you a lot more if you screw it up, and you have to go redo it a dozen times. Where if you just hired proper developers and a development team, they could have gotten it done faster and cheaper than you could have. And that's really why you want to hire developers. Not that they cost more and take longer, but because they get it done more quickly and it costs less than you doing it yourself. All right, it's kind of a little bit about us and just about development in general, but you can get a lot done by yourself. Some of these things really aren't that difficult. You can get this done right the first time. So think about that when you're thinking about your next project. Do I really have to get a development team? Can one developer knock this out in a couple of days? If it takes longer than a couple of days and you think it might take 2 or 3 developers, you probably really want to get multiple people involved inside this. And every time, you know, that you start worrying about things, you should probably think twice about that. It's probably a good reason for you to worry about it. Um, but there are some of the easy things to do is really just keeping track of things. So here's some of the top 3 things that we make development easy. One is using a system where all of the use cases are end user focused stories. So, it's as simple as users should be able to update their own contact information. Yeah, it's a simple form. But leaving it kind of like that, then adding the details to that story allows your developers to always keep the big picture in mind. And that's really important because if they don't have the big picture in mind and they're just integrating or just creating tiny little bits that you say, oh, create this and create that, but they don't know the actual context of it, then that's how you end up with a lot of crappy software, basically. You need your engineers thinking about the big picture, and they'll take care of adding in all the little details, and then you can help define those details, but really they have to have the big picture. Um, Videos, recording your conversations with your developers is really important. So that way they can go back and review what you said, and you can also go back and review what you said. And it's a lot faster than having giant documents. Okay, those detailed steps can also be captured inside the video, but it's nice to have them labeled out. A typical shopping cart is a place to create products, and then a place where people can select products. All right, and then a place where people can enter their billing information, and then saving that information so people can retrieve it later. Are some of the examples of what you'd call like detailed steps, and keep them um, kind of short. If you go into too much detail sometimes, right, you could be screwing it up. You really want to get what they call a minimum viable product out, and not the everything. Um, it's just important to keep in mind as you're building your minimum viable product that you've got kind of the foundation laid for future software if it's that important. If you're kind of thinking along those lines, you might should hire a real development firm to do this for you. Um, and Another big thing about keeping your developers on track is just keeping everything inside of a system like Pivotal Tracker. And these are the stories all your developers have to do once they get it started on the story. They hit start and they click finish when they're finished. Pretty straightforward. If the story takes longer or is spread across multiple days or across lunches, that sort of stuff, you really want them just to say like start, update it, say part one, stop, create the next one, say part two, start it, then stop it. If they go into like part three and so forth, then they can just go into part three and so forth. Okay, and that's just the whole starts and stops. Just keep it part one, part two. Just keep it simple, real easy to use. Is um, one thing that developers are really going to appreciate. And by keeping everything inside here, don't ask them to um, do things that you don't document first. And that the documentation takes just a few moments, but it makes such a big deal when you look at a calendar like this and you can see what your developers are doing. Um, it really will help you to say, okay, well, this is what they were doing, and everything's inside here, and you didn't have to do anything other than enter the stories at start and stop. And to get those starts and stops in from your Pivotal Tracker into your Google Calendar, because most of these systems don't do this, you need a third-party integration tool like one of the ones that we built at Cloud Integration Consultants. Um, but you don't have to use this, but we think it's a really nice feature. And that's some of my basic tips for getting your smaller projects done, and then my advice on larger projects.